One of the most painful and also contradictory situation of this century is that this world produces enough food for the 8 plus billion people in this world. And yet, 1 in 11 people go hungry every night. And of them, 60% are women and children. This is a very, very painful situation. When you have food, people have no way of eating. So my reflection on my hunger, on this hunger reality, I'm going to look at my own life. See, I grew up in a lower middle class family in Kerala, India. I never had to go to bed hungry. I thank God for that. But I've seen my widowed mother struggling to keep food on our table 3 times a day. That I've seen, especially when I was an adolescent. My own experience of poverty and hunger directly was when I was a novice. In 1971, when the Bangladesh war was going on, our novice master sent us for a month of relief work. So I was in a place called Barang, and we had 50,000 refugees there in sheds, in open sheds. And they were mostly elderly men, elderly women, and children. Both young men were drafted in the army and women were either abducted. It was a very sad situation. And people had to stand in line for a little food. And the rule was one person can take only one plate of food. And I was given the responsibility to make sure that nobody came again. You know, it's going to be 50 plus years, 55 years. Even today, I cannot forget this experience. This is maybe a 10-year-old girl, 8 or 9, or maybe even 10 years old girl. So she would come in the queue with the plate and we'll give you food. And I was standing in the line and I thought I had seen her earlier. So second time, I watched her carefully. Then I noticed this girl was taking food. She was running behind a little bush and she would wipe it with a cloth, with her own dress, and then run back into the queue. And I was young and angry and I shouted at her, but then I looked into her eyes. Even today, I cannot forget the eyes. The eyes of a hungry girl who wanted to give it to her family, at least something at night also. It was a terrible experience of hunger right in front of my eyes. Then, of course, over the formation, we had another experience of living with fishermen. So we were sent to fishermen families, and I stayed 3 days in a family, and they fed me 3 times a day. It was only at the last day I realized only me and the children in the home were getting food 3 times a day. That family had, the husband and the wife had only 1 meal a day. So the whole experience of hunger, it's a very painful situation. Hunger is so dehumanizing. It's killing. And that is the tragedy of it. When we have enough food, we're not feeding people. Now, I have been very negative, but let me also tell you some very beautiful things that are happening. I live in Rome now. One of the fascinating sights is every evening you find vehicles, volunteers coming and feeding people in the evenings. It's such a beautiful sight. People are not allowing people to go to bed hungry. Back to my own state of Kerala, there's a man called P.U. Thomas. He's elderly now, but he, as a young man, could not study beyond the 7th standard in the school because he had no money. But he happened to get a job in the medical college as a ward attendant. This man started feeding poor people. And today he runs a charity organization taking care of thousands of homeless and mentally ill. So when somebody wants to feed the hungry, we can feed them. Another experience, one religious like me, Father Bobby Jose, a Capuchin, He started something called Anjapam in local language, which means 5 loaves. Restaurants, a chain of restaurants, not many, I think 6 or 7, where anybody can walk in, have a meal, put the money if you have money, otherwise just walk away. So many good people are responding to this reality. My reflection is to ask, can I and you respond to this reality of hunger in my own little way, around me? Like Mr. Pew Thomas, or like Father Bobby Joe's Capuchin, or like the Romans experience of people, volunteers. And this is where the Catholic social teaching has a real impact. We know, we have heard, we have talked about it, that Catholic social teaching is the best kept secret. We only talk about piety and we only talk about devotions. But Catholic social teaching, the power of Catholic social teachings is, to my mind, to say the whole call for evangelization, the whole call for preach the good news is by serving, is by working for justice. And what greater injustice is there than when there is enough food, people are not given food. And an act of giving food to a hungry man or woman, or especially a child, is an act of rebellion, is an act of justice, it's an act of charity, it's an act that Jesus has asked in Matthew 25 to do, asked us to do. That's going to be the point where we are going to be judged. So to me, being a Christian, being a religious, and being a human person requires that we are open to this reality of hunger. Accept that there are people, hungry people, and that I can feed in my own little way at least a few people. I'm sure we all have heard this Chinese saying, which says, if you want to feed a person, give him a fish. Or give him a fish and he will eat for a day. But give him education, he will eat all his life. So even the act of educating, helping people to be educated, becomes an act of fighting against hunger. So to me, the whole reality of hunger stares at my eyes every day. The crucial question, the critical question, am I sensitive enough, am I compassionate enough to listen to the Catholic social teachings of the Church and obey Jesus and feed the hungry? Sometimes by giving food, sometimes by educating, sometimes by serving. Ultimately, that's going to be the test of real Christian and real Christianity.